Hey guys, Dr. Ben here, Functional Medicine Centers. Excited to talk to you today about insulin resistance and what you can do about it to start reversing that condition that is traumatic for so many people in this country. So excited to have you on Functional Medicine, all about getting to the underlying why and what is going on inside of your body, that root cause. So welcome. For those of you jumping on, go ahead and pop down below where you're watching from. Love to see you guys all over the country, all over the world. If you've got any questions at all on what insulin resistance is it affecting you, anything like that, go ahead and put those down below. Even if you're watching this later, we keep an eye on these videos and we will respond to any questions you have there. So insulin resistance, this is a very prevalent condition. We're talking 80% of the population is dealing with insulin resistance. And this is, a lot of people think about it as like pre-diabetes, diabetes, but we see it so much more, even in people that are not pre-diabetic and diabetic, but they're already creeping into that insulin resistance. So huge part of chronic health conditions. I always say if we could reverse blood sugar issues and insulin resistance, 90% of chronic conditions would go away. We're talking about trillions of dollars a year are spent in the sick care model working on different types of conditions. Hey Nancy, good to see you. Working on different types of conditions like Alzheimer's and diabetes and cancer and autoimmune conditions and all these things. They have a huge blood sugar connection to them, and you can reverse insulin resistance. You can reverse blood sugar imbalances, prediabetes, diabetes, all about that. Hey Lori, good to see you. Thanks for the kind words. Candy, great to see you down in Fort Worth. All right, so let's get into it. What is insulin resistance? Where is it coming from? What's causing it? And what you can do to help with that. So I'm going to jump into it here now and show you. I'm going to use the whiteboard today so you can see where these things are coming from. And we have a lot of different cells in the body, and many of our cells need oxygen and glucose to ultimately make energy. And insulin resistance is basically going to be a blockage of that energy production. And so people that are insulin resistant usually are tired, maybe they're crashing in the afternoon, kind of like yesterday we talked about adrenal fatigue. And so a lot of that adrenal fatigue is going to be related to the blood sugar as well. So our cells have receptors to different things, and one of them is to insulin. So insulin is a hormone. It goes around and it grabs a hold of glucose. And when that insulin grabs glucose, it goes into the receptor, opens up the cell, glucose can go into there, combines with oxygen, and we make energy. So this is the simple process of cellular respiration, of making this energy so that your brain can have energy, that your muscles can have energy. All these different things in the body need that ATP production. So insulin is crucial to get glucose into the cell. That's why if somebody has type 1 diabetes, anybody know type 1 diabetics out there? Give me a thumbs up. Unfortunately, it's getting a lot more prevalent. I met a lady a couple days ago. She started getting type 1 diabetes in her 20s. Another lady even at 30. And remember, type 1 diabetes is an autoimmune condition where the body is attacking the pancreas, and the cells that produce insulin are being attacked and destroyed so that we don't have enough insulin. If those type 1 diabetics, if they don't take external insulin, they are going to ultimately die. If they were stranded on a desert island, they would not make it because their body could not pull that glucose into the cells like they need to. Hey Paula, good to see you up there in Buffalo. All right, so we've got insulin, grabs a hold of glucose, opens up the door to the cell. The cell makes the energy, the ATP, and we go on and have energy and have fun and can run around and do all those different things. So what happens with insulin resistance is over years of this blood sugar spiking up, crashing down, spiking up, crashing down, we produce too much insulin. Those insulin receptors get gummed up basically. They're not going to respond to insulin like they're supposed to. So we have this insulin resistance. You could kick out, I'll see patients with 10, 20, 30, 40, 60, 100 on their insulin. So like 6 to 10 times the amount of insulin. Hey Lisa, good to see you there in Oklahoma. So we'll see people with 6 to 10 times the amount of insulin coming out than they need to. And what happens is then insulin in and of itself is great. We need it. It's crucial, gets that glucose in. But insulin in excess is very inflammatory. So this is why the majority of patients that we see that are insulin resistant have inflammation. We see their CRP, homocysteine, different inflammatory markers really high. So as we get this insulin resistance calmed down, as we get this blood sugar, these glucose imbalances figured out, those patients are going to have a lot easier time getting rid of their inflammation. Their joints are going to feel less pain. A lot of things are going to change as they start getting that insulin resistance balanced out. And here's basically what happens and where that insulin resistance comes from is that when we spike up with that blood sugar, we try to rush as much insulin out, try to pull that glucose down. Glucose in excess in the bloodstream, very bad. Then what happens? We pull it out too fast because we overreact. We're like, man, we got to get it down fast. And then we drop down. And then the body's like, I'm tired, spacey, hangry, having those crashes. And then the next meal or the next snack, somebody does it again. And then they do it again, and they do it again, and they do it again. And this is why we see people, A1C, you've heard that number before, A1C, average of the last 3 months. Most people think insulin resistance is pre-diabetic or diabetic, but we see so many people at that 5.2 level, which is almost ideal for your average, and they're perfect there, but they're having these swings, and they're having insulin resistance, but they're having the crash and the high, but the average is good. So it's not just, hey Tamara, good to see you there. It's not just the highs and the pre-diabetic and the diabetic. We'll see people have a really good average, but they're bouncing all over the place. That's ultimately what leads to this insulin resistance. And what's the number one thing you can do to get rid of your insulin resistance is to keep that blood sugar as steady as possible. We'll talk about that in a second. So how do you know if you have insulin resistance? Number one way to do that is to do a non-fasting insulin test. This is what we do with patients all the time. Every single patient that comes in the office, we tell them go ahead and eat. They've eaten, and we check their insulin. Is their insulin high? I don't want it over 10, but if you're over 20, 30, 40, 60, anything like that, it's going to be a huge, huge indicator that somebody has insulin resistance. Hey Candy, can hydrochloric acid help with this? So not really. Hydrochloric acid is going to be better at breaking down protein, helping with calcium and iron absorption, but it's not necessarily going to help with the blood sugar. That's going to be more about things like this, continuous glucose monitor, using a blood sugar monitor, poking your finger, figuring out which foods are going to do it. Unfortunately, there's no great supplements. I haven't given out a blood sugar supplement in years. People, they talk about cinnamon and alpha-lipoic acid and all these things. We don't have to do that. We figure out which foods are best and we get people nice and steady in there. So how do you know if you've got insulin resistance? Well, the big thing that we look for is somebody crashing throughout the day. So a lot of times in the mid-afternoon, if you're crashing down, hey Gilda, good to see you. Glad you enjoy the information there. If somebody's crashing down in that mid-afternoon, we talked about adrenal fatigue yesterday, but now it can be that blood sugar. We finally open up enough doors to the cells and pull glucose down, and then people crash. And then they're looking around the cubicles and find the lady that's got the Hershey's Kisses and pop some of those, and then they spike up again, and then they crash down. And so they're on this yo-yo all day long. So if your energy is not consistent all day, it's usually because the blood sugar's out of balance and there's some insulin resistance going on in there. The other thing that we're looking for is if your weight is not where it needs to be. That's usually what's happening when we get this excess and this spike up here. We'll store that glucose as body fat. If you're inflamed, if your joints hurt, if you've got brain fog, a lot of these different symptoms are going to be coming from that insulin resistance. Your glucose isn't pulling down. And remember, insulin in and of itself is very inflammatory. So what can you do today to help with your insulin resistance? The number one thing you can do is get that glucose nice and consistent all day long. The number one way that we do that with patients is use a glucose monitor. We're now using continuous glucose monitors with patients, a huge upgrade from the finger prick, but if you've got a finger poke blood sugar monitor, we've used it for years, and reverse diabetes, insulin resistance, all types of different things. So you've got to figure out which foods work and which foods don't. We see patients all the time that sweet potato is worse than white potato, that some can eat a banana, others can't. Some can eat berries, others can't. It really is way more individualized than we've ever known. So for you guys out there, if you don't know you have insulin resistance, look at the symptoms, but then next time you get blood draw, look for that insulin marker and do it non-fasting. So this is reversible. We can save trillions of dollars in sick care expenses every single year if people would just figure out what to do with their blood sugar and what not to do, and you've got that power inside of you. All right, guys, make it a great day, and we'll talk soon. Bye-bye.